All right, we'll wait about 2 more minutes. Hope everyone's school year has been going well so far. I can't complain. So far, so good. I'm still not used to webinars. I've done a few. And so as questions arise, you can put them in the Q&A section here. And I'll see them eventually. And we can do, we'll be doing some questions and answers at the end as well. But as we go through, feel free to raise your hand at any time and pop a question in the Q&A box. People are still coming in. All right. Just checking the email and phone, make sure nobody is stuck. Looks like we're pretty good. All right. People come in, they can join us a couple minutes late. We're recording anyway, so they can get the video and watch it at their leisure. Hello, everybody. I'm Chuck Zucco, founder and owner of the Educational Testing Institute. I set this company up way back in 1999, doing MTEL prep, and I did communication literacy at first, and my students were taking other tests and asked me for help, and so we've expanded over the years. We work with many districts and colleges, etc., over that time. And let me share my screen here, show you my fancy PowerPoint. Okay. So as you guys probably know from probably too many emails that you guys got, excuse me, we're going to talk about the new general curriculum exam today, highlight the differences between this exam with the previous, and explain what we're doing to, get you ready for the exam. This is really the third or fourth iteration of this test. They've changed it a couple of times over the years. The last was like 2009 or so. So it's due. It was overdue for a revamp. But let me tell you a little bit about us and what we've been doing. As I said, we started in 1999. We're a small business, public school educators. The people that work for me and me are all public school teachers. We all have a special ed background. And again, we've worked with many districts over the years, charter schools, colleges, had thousands of students over the last maybe 25 years coming up. I started this when I was 3. Yeah, I tell stupid jokes a lot. You have to get used to that. We've always guaranteed success. It's been unconditionally free to repeat. There's a lot of information on all of these exams. And, right away, I figured that it would be tough to expect everyone to pay me a chunk of money and then sit in front of me for, a month and a half and expect them to learn everything they needed to. People come from all different places, all different backgrounds. And I knew that I didn't want to just leave people out in the dark. So as long as it's my company, it's going to be free to repeat as many times as you need to pass the test. The curriculum we've developed works for everybody. Again, we all have special ed backgrounds. I'm a special educator and a clinician. So the program is built so that it really works for anyone with, learning disabilities, attentional issues, ESL, people who are changing careers and haven't been to school for 20, 30, however many years. It's worked well for everyone. So again, we're different than most other companies out there because we have curriculum developed and delivered by special educators. We do actual instruction and teaching in class. I know there are some other programs out there that are just all online, or even if they are live on Zoom or in person, they're very big seminars and people aren't allowed or never mind encouraged to ask questions. We try to run it like you would run a classroom for yourself and really try to engage people and let them ask questions as they need. We really try to build skills, from the basic skills you need to the advanced skills when they are necessary for the test, whichever test that is. We really focus on test taking strategies. Okay. I've developed a test taking system that for this test in particular, I think it's very helpful for, and we really spend a lot of time on it during the first session, but we really interweave skills and strategies throughout whatever program we deliver. We don't look at our students as numbers. We have a Facebook group, and those of you out there who are my students now or in the past, I'll spend time with you. If you have questions about things, people reach out to me all the time. My cell phone number is out there. People message me over Facebook all the time, questions in general about, how things going to school, teaching, and particularly the MTELs. What should I take? What's this test like? We try to keep the class sizes relatively small. We're not going to have 100 people in one class. It's too overwhelming, and it doesn't let us really allow people to ask questions. So if we need to, we would open up new sections potentially if classes got very big. And I mentioned our Facebook group. We've really developed a community of learners and educators where we have 400 plus people in there. This really just started over the last couple of years since COVID, where everything has gone online. So we have a really nice supportive group. Excuse me one second. Hello? Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you were having trouble getting in, or you were telling me something. I'll have to call you back in a sec. Okay. All right. I can try to resend you a link in a few minutes. Okay. Thank you. I only answered because I figured I know she had registered, and she might have been telling me that we can't hear you or something. So that's why these webinars are new. I want to run through quickly what services we offer. We have live Zoom classes. We have self-paced video programs. We do individual tutoring, and we have flex consultation and review for those of you who qualified for a flex program. Zoom classes, and these are being updated as we're changing to meet the changing programs themselves. So we have communication literacy, reading and writing. I'm currently actually redesigning programs to include the MTEL alternatives. All right, so those will be updated soon. We'll be starting classes in, I believe, November. I have dates. The general curriculum, math and multi-subject, those are also being updated. Of course, that's why we're here. So there's the math science, and then the English history, and we'll explain that in a minute. Early childhood, new programs just redeveloped this past spring. And the alternatives, those are being merged with the communication and literacy programs. Foundations of Reading, we have Carol Milano, who has been working with me off and on for, geez, probably a couple of decades. And, she has live programs of her own that you can access via her or my website. They go right to her classes. If you prefer Zoom with her, we host a video program of hers on my website. The video programs I mentioned, we have communication literacy, foundations of reading, and a couple of the communication literacy alternatives and the VCLA writing. And as soon as I get these programs buttoned down over the next few months, we learn a little bit more about them over time. I'll be developing more self-paced programs, that people seem to really like nowadays. And of course, we have tutoring available for any of these programs and others too, depending on what your needs are. If we can help you, we will build a program to meet your needs. Excuse me. Okay. So now getting right to why we're here, let's look at this new test and compare it to the old Field 03 exams. And the Field 78 exam is what they're calling the new general curriculum. They kind of break it down into two. The 178 is the language arts, history, social science. The 278, they're using that to refer to the math science. All right, so that's why the numbers may seem a little different here. So the 03 multi-subject, right, it had 55 multiple choice questions and 1 open response question. The new exam that's most comparable to the multi-subject is the language arts, history, and social science, 60 multiple choice questions, 1 open response. The math on the old one had 45 multiple choice, 1 open response. The new math and science has 60 multiple choice, 1 open response. So that's different. There are more questions on these tests combined. It went from 100 to 120 multiple choice questions. Still 1 open response question on each. And the breakdown of scoring is pretty much the same. The multiple choice is worth 90% of the score. The open response, 10% of your score. And Elizabeth, I'll answer your question in 1 second. I think it's very relevant to what we're talking about. Things that haven't changed between the two exams, still have 4 hours. 240 is the same passing score, but that's scaled, right? That's a scaled score. So the raw scores on these, we don't know. They're still working on that. It usually takes them a couple of months to work out what the scale is from the raw score. Now, very common question. I wrote a blog about this over the summer. If you've passed one of these exams, what do you have to do? So essentially, they want you to pass something from every content area: English, history, science, and math. So if you've passed the previous multi-subject, for example, you still have to take, let me go back to where we were. You still have to take the math, even though science is repeated, okay? Because you have to pass the math part. Now, you can take alternative tests. You can take the elementary math test. I don't recommend that for most people because the elementary math test is significantly more difficult, more advanced math than the general curriculum math, okay? So I get that a lot. Can you help me with the elementary math? I said, well, we can do most of it. My program is geared for this test, the general curriculum math, but why are you taking the elementary math? If you have to be a math specialist, you have to take the elementary math. For the other things, special ed, elementary, you're better off 90% of the time taking the general curriculum math, even though you're repeating the science. The math is more accessible here. And in my experience with my thousands of students, math usually isn't the easiest thing for them. But there's more detail in that blog, which you can find on the website. If you have any issues finding that, just send me an email and, I'll post it. So the way, I did it again. The way the test breaks now, it's not significantly different. But if you see in the new test here in the 178, the history has twice as much content as the English. Okay, so about 30% history, 30% English, 30% history, and then the 10% open response question. The content from what's been described and from what I've seen online is very similar to the content on the multi-subject. We'll get into the details about that in a little bit of where I see some differences. The open response question is very different. All right, I think that's what's going to be most difficult for people on both of these exams is the open response and how different it is. So the math is in the English are about equal. All right, so a little bit more math on average than on the science. So it's 48% math, 42 science, and then again, the 10% is the open response. Again, it's very similar content, what they cover overall for both the math and the science. The sentence structure a little bit different. You know, we will get into that. And Jen asked to clarify, if I pass the old math test, I have to take the multi-subject. Well, you still have to take a science part. You have to pass a test with English, with history, with math, and with science. So if you've passed the multi-subject, you're going to have to take the science. If you pass the math, you got to take the language arts and history, but you still have a science test to take. So you can take this science, or you can take like a middle school or a high school content science. This one's going to be easier than any of the others. So essentially, you have to take, you got to take both of these tests. It's probably the easiest way out. The open responses, describe them a little bit here, then we'll see some examples. The new one, it gives you two passages based on some kind of historical content. The example they give online sample is it's on the Magna Carta, if I remember correctly. So they give you two passages about the Magna Carta, and they ask you to analyze the point of view and the main idea of each. All right. Now, if you're good at that kind of thing, probably not so bad. Most of us have difficulty with writing an analysis and being detailed about finding the main idea, the point of view, and really using evidence from the passages to make your point. Okay. The math, science, open response, again, very different than the previous one. They take a science concept and you have to kind of explain it using the science, but also tying in the math, right? We'll see an example of this. The old one, the math was hard, right? The math open response was tricky on the 03, but it was only math. And, you know, we could train you on the specific math concepts you needed to do well. This one is a mix of math and science. So the math and science together, and knowing how to explain science in mathematical terms with, you know, formulas or whatever, is going to make this one difficult as well. All right. And we'll see examples of this. And Rachel, hold on your flex question. If I don't get to that, remind me at the end, and we'll talk about the flex. So here's some examples of how they're a little bit different maybe in the multiple choice questions. On the older test, they would ask things in the English like, you know, what's the part of speech in this sentence? You know, underline a word, what's the part of speech? Is there an error in subject-verb agreement? Which one of these sentences? Or pronoun reference or whatever. Hardcore grammar, punctuation, those kinds of things. They may have highlighted a line in a poem and said, what literary device is being used here? There is some of that stuff, some of the literary device and those kinds of terms are on here. The differences were something like they might give you a structured conversation between students in the classroom that the teacher structured. And they'll say, what's the purpose of this conversation? There may be passages from literature, history, or whatever, and they'll ask about the writer's point of view, the tone of the passage. Okay, so it's more literature-based, this exam, than the 03 was, which, if you're like literature and that's easy for you, will be easier, but there's less kind of memorization and rote coming up with just facts that if people were good at that, the old exam might be easier. Well, might have been. You can't take it anymore. History, again, a lot of this very similar content from what we can tell. You know, questions about the first pilgrims, you know, any kind of war that, you know, were fought over here in this continent. American history, like the Articles of Federation, the Constitution, that kind of thing. Questions like, you know, not just like when would women get the right to vote, but why? Which of these events most influence the country to allow women the right to vote? They also could have things, two passages by or about a historical figure like Frederick Douglass. And they may ask you, you know, how are these similar? How are they different? What do the authors agree with? Interpretation and comparison, which can be tricky. And again, they also could have questions like look at a conversation and answering a question about why the teacher did this, how should the teacher proceed? So there's more pedagogy and understanding like in the classroom stuff, which I think is good because most of us are pretty good at that because we're good teachers. So I like that aspect of the test because it measures what you know in ways that matter, right? Some of this history stuff you may never teach. So there's some things about this test that I think are good improvements. Math multiple choice questions, very similar questions and structure as far as we can tell. This seems to be some less hardcore geometry, not much probability. There are some math science questions and more practical problems, right? Like a question like this, for example, well, you have these two air ducts and they're looking at air flowing and they're asking you to compare the area and volume of, you know, the bent regions and those kinds of things. So it's kind of a not pure math, but look at math in a practical engineering technology or pure science sense. So more of those kinds of questions, which I think are generally more tricky for people. And similar things to say regarding the science, tech, and engineering questions. Similar content to what we had seen before. There may be some more practical and more student-centered questions now. For example, they have a group of students here with a shoe design, and they give a survey to their classmates. Which of the following engineering design processes is represented here? So it's not just asking you a question, it's putting you in a situation. How would students see this thing? So again, more of those practical hands-on type questions than previous, where it's just more testing your knowledge. You know, more rote memorization from the old test, more practical understanding using your knowledge in situations on this exam. Open response. Big difference. And I think, again, this is going to make these tests more difficult for a lot of people. The old test, the 03, was very content dependent. Memorization was the key. You had to memorize information on, you know, a couple dozen different history concepts, science concepts. If you're good at that rote memorization and kind of repeating back what you learned, you could study enough and do well. If that kind of detail-oriented work isn't for you and you're good at kind of figuring things out on the spot, the fluid reasoning type stuff, this test would be easier. But I think it's going to be trickier for most people. What they do is they give you two primary historical texts, a primary or a secondary, could be either one. Again, we mentioned before that they released the question online that's about the Magna Carta. And you have to compare the different passages on their point of view and main idea. So if you have any difficulty with that higher level analysis on the spot, right? I mean, if you had a weekend to do it, it probably wouldn't be so bad. But you got to write this thing, half an hour or so at most. So if that real on the spot, under pressure analysis, making comparisons, if reading comprehension is a struggle, this test will be more difficult for you than the previous exam. Okay. So here's the examples, right? The old one here about flowering plant, you had to just memorize how things are pollinated, process of passing on genetic material. You can memorize that. You can learn that. But compare the way these two sources discuss the Magna Carta. Determine, compare the main ideas. Analyze, compare the purpose and point of view. Integrate info and cite evidence to support your comparison. So this top one here, that's the kind of thing that I worry people will struggle with. All right. So we'll get to my program, but I really plan to come up with a few examples at least that you can practice with. All right. Because you can get better at anything with practice. All right. But if you have, again, issues with any of the analysis skills that are needed here, reading comprehension, it's going to take some work. But luckily, these are only worth 10% of the score. All right. So if you do really well in the multiple choice, 90%. All right. So these are, it's important, but if you do well enough in the other stuff, you don't have to worry about this so much. Okay. Math science, very similar. I'm going to sound almost exactly the same. The old test, they gave you a student's work sample. You had to analyze it, identify the errors, and find the errors in the student's work and do it correctly, etc. It was solely focused on math concepts, and we knew enough about what you needed to know where we could give you exactly what you needed. It was still tricky, though. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't a piece of cake. This one, again, they're giving you a science scenario and asking you to explain it in science and mathematical concepts. You have to integrate math and science together. So again, more difficult if that higher level analytical thinking on the spot is very difficult for you. You might not have done this on the spot, right? Because even if you took MCAS back in the day, it was just science or just math. So this is, again, the integration. And if science and math, if one of those are difficult, it's going to be more challenging. So here's the old one, right? They gave you some kind of figure or problem. They gave you the student's work, and then they ask you to correct the errors and misconceptions, do the work correctly, find an alternative solution. All right, I'm going through quickly because I'm just showing you the differences. You don't have to worry about this kind of thing. That's not the test we're talking about. But this one is, they're going to give you a scenario like this, right? Students measuring the lengths of their shadows, and they're observing the shadows are longer in the morning and late afternoon and shortest at noon. And then they give some math stuff, right? The teacher is 72 inches tall. The students measure the shadow at 3 o'clock. It's this tall. And the shadow of the tree is this tall. And they model, right? They use this as a model. Okay, so they give you the math. They give you kind of this situation here. And then use your knowledge of Earth and space silence as well as your knowledge of representing and interpreting data. Analyze the information and write a response. And they're kind of feeding you a little bit here, which is good. Use proportional reasoning. So it's a proportion is what the math comes down to. Calculate the height of the tree. Show your steps. And then the science explanation comes in here. Why are the heights of the shadows different? Explain that. So that's where the science comes in. It's always going to be some science, some math, and a mixture in there, so that's not just like one or the other. So this is why I worry about the open responses more than I used to. So our old programs, again, we had 4 sessions for the multi-subject, 6 for the math. Took a long time to get through the math. And it's going to be similar in some ways what we're looking at now. So for the ELA, I'm developing these programs right now. I've kind of got the shells outlined. I'm kind of filling in the middles as we go on here. So 4 sessions. All students we invite to our Facebook group, where as I write more material, I release it in the Facebook group, reading passages, new concepts of questions, right? So we add information and communicate to students and each other through the Facebook group. We record the Zoom sessions, so you have access to those. All right, so you can rewatch me teach as many times as you want. Access to instructor between classes through the Facebook group. Like I say, me and our other instructors are available if you have, quick and easy questions, and tutoring is available, but tutoring is extra cost. It's very time intensive, and we're pretty busy with tutoring already, so we can't, we just don't have the time to do things at length for free. The math science, I'm sorry, let me go through the specifics here. 1 session is dedicated to test taking skills, my kind of method to take multiple choice tests. Then we'll do a session on ELA, a session on history. And then the last session will be on open response, because I really want to understand the history and ELA stuff before we tackle the open response, and we have to do all that stuff together, okay? The math science program, I think we'll end up at 5 weeks. Now, again, it's my first time through, and, again, 25 years I've redone and built programs dozens of times. And you guys know, building curriculum, sometimes, you may need a little extra time. I'm thinking we're going to end up at 5 sessions. As I'm going through the first session, if I think I need more, we'll add it. All right, I'm not going to shortchange us if I think we have to do more to make sure that we know what we're doing. Again, the Facebook group, the Zoom sessions. Now, the old math program was 6 full sessions, 12 hours. 10 of those hours kind of apply to this test too. But I'm not going to do a 20-hour program. It's unreasonable, and people wouldn't come, right? It's an awfully long time to dedicate, 10, 12 weeks. So I have a self-paced math video program. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the open response off of that program, and I'm going to give it to people who sign up for this class, where you can study more math if you need it. It's there for you if you need it. It'll go through all the basics. That program starts with fractions, decimals, and percents, goes right through statistics and probability. Okay. So instead of building a huge mathematical component to this, I'm going to cover important math concepts for this exam from what we know in 4 hours, 2 sessions, and then you still have access to the basic skills in the math program if you need more math work. All right. So we'll do 2 sessions of the math, 1 session of the science, cover all the important science concepts. And then again, at the end, we'll work on open responses. All right, really try to analyze how to do the analysis. Now, the test taking skills, we're going to hold that session together with both groups. It'll be recorded, so if you can't make a session, you'll have access to it. If you have questions, again, reach out to me anytime. That's not going to be a problem. And of course, you get the unconditional guarantee as well. All right. And dates are posted up on the website. We're going to start in a few weeks. For the life of me, I can't remember which nights are which, but one's going to run on Tuesday evenings, one's going to run on Thursday evenings. And most likely they'll stay those evenings going forward as we progress into the spring. So if you'd like to register, here's a link. You can just go to joineti.com. All of our programs are listed there. I have to update the description of these programs, so I'll be editing that over the next week or two. So the old descriptions for the old tests are on there now. But again, I'll fix that over the next couple of weeks. It'll all be updated. As I said, public school teacher. I work full-time. I'm a case manager of a public high school. So busy day job. All right. Busy day job. So this program will be ready. Sometimes some of the details on the website will take time. I don't have full-time hours to advocate to that back office stuff all the time. If you register in the next 24 hours, you can get 20% off either of those courses. Whoops. So the code is GC20. There's a little at the checkout, you can put GC20 and you'll get a 20% discount. Any questions about anything, feel free to reach out to me. My cell phone is here, website, email, everything is right there. So I'm pretty much done with content. I'll take more questions if you have them here. Rachel here asked about the flex. If you qualify for the flex, you need to go to the DOE website. They might have had an expiration date on that. So if I remember correctly, there was a date in August was the last date you could register for one of the flexes on this test. Now, if you're registered already, you could turn it in. You had several months. So this was told to me by a student, may not be true. So go to register for an MTEL. If you have the flex option, you can register for it. It could be too late. What you want to do is register for that, and then you have several months to complete the flex if you can. And, we have help if you need it as well. The private tutoring rate for non-students is $150 an hour. And if you are a returning student, someone who's been in class or done a program with us in the past, then it's $125 an hour. Honestly, I haven't kept passing rates in a long time, but my original dates for our programs in the beginning, we increased passing rates by over 500%. And the numbers don't matter now because the passing score was a 70 back then, not a 240, but we increased the scores by 12 points. So now, I don't know, it's at the scale that's tough to really say, but I can say that we do have people that repeat, and it's, usually a couple per class, but if people didn't think it was any good, they wouldn't come back. All right. So if you have questions about, you think the programs work, we can let you into the Facebook group on a limited time basis if you don't want to sign up right away. And you can ask people right in there. You can read the comments that are in there. All the quotes on my website are all real from real people who've taken the test and taken the course. So I don't have the data, but I can certainly let you know. People right here in this group, I'm sure I'd be happy to give you a positive review. They've taken a lot of programs with me over time. All right, let's see. Pass the multi. Okay, we talked about this a little bit. If you pass a multi-subject, you still have to take the math science because you still have to pass a math test. And again, I wouldn't take the elementary math because elementary math is much more, it has algebra 2 concepts in it, logs and things like that, where the general curriculum math really goes up to like, sophomore level math, geometry, and, algebra type stuff. There's no really hardcore advanced math like you see in algebra 2 or beyond. But there is on the elementary math test. Don't let the names of those exams confuse you. Okay. I qualify for the math flex, but still have the multi-subject. Tricia, it's hard to say. If you do the math flex, you'll still have to take both of these exams because you haven't passed the science part. So I think it'd be a waste of your time and money to do the flex. You probably should just take the 2 new exams because you got to take, again, the history, the science, the math, and the English. You have to pass a test in each of those disciplines. General Curriculum 78, this test is for those who wish to be special educators or elementary educators. I think those are the only 2 certifications this test is really for, unless someone else knows any different, but that's, I'm pretty sure about just those 2 certifications. And Andrea, I passed 03. Yeah, I'm sorry. You passed the math. You still have to pass a science test. Again, you could take a middle school science or a high school science test. Those are going to be more challenging than taking this new math science general curriculum, unfortunately. Last year, again, small businessman, so I don't have huge marketing dollars, right? I was writing blogs and I was screaming from the rooftops last year, pass your general curriculums this year, where we have all the information. We have programs that we've been running for, 12 years or so. Unfortunately, you're stuck. Any other questions, comments, concerns? All right. Here we go. Yes, this is being recorded. You guys know with Zoom, it's got to compile. It's going to take, a few minutes, and then I will copy it up to YouTube, and I will send an email with the link to you guys directly, and I'll post it in on the Facebook group example for those of you who are in there as well. But I mean, it'll be out there, but you guys won't have to search for it. If you've registered, I'm just going to blast an email out with the link. So check your junk too. All right, check your junk. And remember, you have 24 hours to register, and that discount will come off automatically. All right. Other questions, comments, concerns? Keep them coming. Yes. Anonymous attendee, we're going to record all the sessions. Again, it's kind of part of how we're selling this now. We have been doing this for a while, but you'll have access to those classes. So you could hear me doing class with the people there. It'll just be a recording of me, of my teaching the class live, but recorded for you. Other classes with you or other, okay. So this class right now, I will be instructing. Okay. Other instructors for this class have been Andrew Frassa and Bill Fuller. Andrew has taught the multi-subject, and Bill has also. I'm the only one that's really kind of taught the math. So I fully expect that they will be able to teach this once I get it off the ground and kind of train them. But at least I think through the rest of this year, this program, and going into the spring, most likely I'll be teaching it. When I bring others in, usually they sit in my class and they watch me teach it a couple of times, and we talk about it afterwards, kind of train them and bring them along. So, and their backgrounds are very similar to mine. Actually, they're more qualified than me. I'm a clinical social worker. I've been doing this for 25 years. I've taught a lot of things. I'm not a teacher. All right. These guys are special education certified. They have history or English certifications as well. All right. So I know what I'm doing, trust me, but they're technically more qualified than I to be teaching. And anonymous about the multi-subject test, I've answered that a couple of times about if you have to take them both again. So you can reach out to me personally or read my blog on the website about what if I pass one multi-subject test. If you search for that, my blog will pop up, I'm sure. Alana, if you've paid, this is guaranteed. You paid me for the math program. So I'm holding that guarantee true, even though this is a different program. Technically, you will be grandfathered in, so you won't have to pay. It's guaranteed. Everything posted. Now, I post a lot in the Facebook group, but the materials for class, right, that I'm writing, that is delivered to people through a Dropbox share. So the materials for class, the videos that I record that I'll share with people, those will be shared through Dropbox. There are some things like the extras, things that as I'm developing my materials before I kind of edit them and kind of refinalize them, students will tell me, hey, this concept was on the test. We didn't know about that before. So I'll write some stuff up and I'll put that and deliver that through the Facebook group. There's a file section and, I'll post it right there. Andrea, thank you very much. I appreciate that you liked what I've done here. I like the feedback. Thank you. Anything else, ladies, gentlemen? All right, so the Facebook is called, you can't get in until you register anyway. And when you do register, I'll invite you. I'll send you an email, but it's joineti.com, MTEL Student Forum. I'm going to type it in here. Again, it's for students only. So if you haven't registered yet, you really can't get in. But when you do register, I will send you an email and it says, please join our group and request it. I'll friend you. I like having new friends. You don't have to accept my friendship request if you don't want to. That's not a requirement. And we'll let you in the group. And then again, you can ask anybody anything you want. And if you kind of want to get in the group just to kind of poke around and see what's posted there and see if this is real, you're welcome to. Just I'll message you and, we can go back and forth. And I've let people in before to check it out and kind of get firsthand information from people. Happy to do it. Nope, if you've paid for one of my programs already, even though this is kind of new, you're still guaranteed. You're still guaranteed. And so Tricia, just send me a message through Facebook or text me and, we'll get you in the group. All right, you can check it out. Other questions, comments, concerns? All right, so the recorded classes right now are for the old test. So again, we're in the middle of updating everything here. I will redo these programs, but I want to teach it a few times, see the questions people ask, see what works and doesn't work before I kind of finalize it and put it in a video program that's going to sit there for a couple of years. So that video program you saw online will be included if you sign up for the math here, right? Remember we said that you're gonna get the Zoom program that's gonna talk about this stuff, plus the video program is gonna be about 10 hours of math that will cover in more depth anyway, all the different math concepts you need and give you lots of practice with questions. The new class on eti.com, Kiana, you mean the new recorded class or Zoom or this class right now that I'm talking about? You can register for that right now. The website people had that done today. So those are updated. So if you signed up for if you want to sign up for the math history or the ELA Science, you can do that right now online. That's updated, right? That was set for today. You're very welcome, Tricia. Special ed's the way to go. You should all get SPED certified. It'll help you no matter what you do. Anything else? So, Erin, it is possible to take them both at the same time. It's a lot of work. People have done it, right? People have done multi-subject and math over the years together. And I always warn them, happy to cash a check, but I don't want you to be overwhelmed. Unless you're under some kind of deadline where you have to pass it like this, I recommend you take one at a time. Okay. There's only one date that is the same, and we're covering the same stuff. All right. So one class is going to meet on Tuesdays, one on Thursdays, but there's one date, it's a Tuesday, where the Thursday people will join us. We're going to talk about the test taking skills, because the test taking skills is going to be the same for both classes. So we're going to hold that together. And again, if you can't make it for whatever reason, you have a class on Tuesday night, the video will be there for you to look at it. Elizabeth, thank you very much. The classes, the dates, I can tell you because we just set this up. I am going to not guess. I'm going to go right to my website here. All right, so let me just refresh my page. Kristen, you're very welcome. Now, see, Kristen's been a student. If she thought I was bad, she wouldn't be here right now, right? All right, let's see. So the math science, October 10th. October 10th is the first day of class. The math science is running on Tuesdays, October 10th, 17th, 24th, first 2 weeks in November. The history, English history starts on the 10th, one class, and then on the 12th, and then the 19th, and we'll run on Thursdays. So one Tuesday and 3 Thursdays for the science and history, starting October 10th. All right, so those dates are online and correct. So if you want to get in the Facebook group to check it out, talk to people, I can let you in for a limited amount of time. All right, so that's really just to kind of get feedback from people, see what's there, that kind of stuff. Happy to let you in. Send me a message on Facebook. It's Chuck Zucco. I don't know if there are any other Chuck Zuccos around. And I'll let you in. And if you don't sign up, no big deal. You just leave the group and, good luck. I still hope you pass. No problem. Thank you, Kristen, for the kind words. Yeah, Deb, if I were you, I would push a tape back unless you get, the money's not a big deal, right? If you get plenty of money, you might as well take it to get the experience. Okay. That's up to you. But most people, you can't just throw money away. I'd push it back and try to prepare and do it right. You're very welcome, anyone. Yeah, Laurie, anytime, you're always welcome. Just send me an email so that I have it and I just put you right on my list. All right, to repeat. No problem. Yes, the first administration of the 78 was given on the 21st of August. So they've been about a month. Just about a month, people have been taking these 78. So we don't have a ton of information about it, but I've got enough where it's similar enough to the old test where I have enough to run a program. Yeah, Nikki, I remember you. You can repeat. Just, again, send me an email. Or on the website, it says, to repeat, click here. You can click that. I get an email and I just add you to the list. All right, not a problem. Anything else? All right. Any last minute questions going once? Twice? All right. Thank you very much for your time. Any questions that come up, again, feel free to reach out to me personally. text me, Facebook or whatever. And I hope to see you guys all in class and end your MTEL hell, as I like to say. All right. Good night, everybody.